Good evening, everyone. Well, my name is Seema Sharma. I'm the Vice Chair of the Immigrant Affairs Commission. I want to welcome you all. I know it's a weekday evening. It's very difficult and challenging, but I want to thank, like I said, that you are joining us today. On behalf of the County Executive's Office, Immigrant Affairs Commission, and the Frederick Library, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Immigrant Affairs Commission would not even exist if not for the unwavering hard work and the grit that went behind it. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me much honor to introduce our County Executive, Jessica Fitzwater. She stood behind IAC Commission in getting it formed. Within her tenure, she has focused on many other legislations: workforce housing, labor standards, and human trafficking, to just name a few. As county executive, she has been involved with the local housing and affordable housing development. She has implemented, expanded the health benefits, and increased the minimum wage for the full-time county employees to $21 an hour. That's what I heard. Yes. I can go on and on. The list is endless. As Ms. Fitzwater stays involved with the enrichment and development of Frederick County. I present to you our County Executive, Jessica Fitzwater.
Thank you so much, Seema. Well, thank you so much for everyone who's joined us here, and especially our friends who we're going to be hearing from tonight. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to learn from you this evening. And it's my privilege to welcome everybody who's joined us here in honoring Frederick County's immigrant community, and to make sure that we welcome everybody who is contributing to our vibrant and diverse community here in Frederick County. I do want to express my deepest gratitude to the Immigrant Affairs Commission for their leadership, and also to everybody who has joined us tonight and who will be joining us next week when we have a continued conversation with other immigrant neighbors in our community. We know that immigrants are the backbone of Frederick County and Maryland's progress. Their skills, traditions, and resilience fuel our economy, shape our culture, and strengthen the spirit of our communities. Our schools, businesses, and neighborhoods all benefit from the contributions and perspectives our immigrants bring. And yet, sadly, we know that many immigrants today live with uncertainty and fear. I want everyone to know that Frederick County stands with our immigrant neighbors. We stand beside you. Our community is committed to ensuring you feel safe, respected, and valued. We see you, we are here for you, and we thank you for enriching our county and Maryland as a whole. It's our hope tonight that sharing immigrant stories not only fosters understanding, but that they will inspire hope and unity. Each journey and experience is truly an essential thread in the tapestry of Frederick County's history. So I'm incredibly grateful to our four remarkable speakers who will share their experiences of making Frederick County home. Thank you for being a vital part of Frederick County and for honoring the immigrant experience tonight. And I do have a proclamation to share with you this evening, as June is Immigrant Heritage Month. And I'm going to read the proclamation, and then I'll invite Seema, who she neglected to say that she is the vice chair of our Immigrant Affairs Commission, so we appreciate her very much, and Claudia Hernandez, who is here as the chair of our Immigrant Affairs Commission, two incredible women who are working tirelessly on behalf of our community every day. So in just a moment, I'll ask you all to join me. Whereas Immigrant Heritage Month allows us to celebrate our history as a nation of immigrants, and whereas welcoming people to our country is central to our national experience and our way of life, and whereas generations of immigrants from every corner of the world have built our country's economy and created the unique character of our nation, and whereas immigrants continue to grow businesses and create jobs in Frederick County and around the nation. And whereas immigrants have been leaders in securing their own rights and access to equal opportunity and have campaigned to create a fairer and more just society for all Americans. And whereas immigrant communities are inextricably and beautifully woven into Frederick County's past, present, and future. And this month lets us celebrate how our county is enriched by people from all different backgrounds and allows us to recommit to the promise of opportunity for all. And whereas our country was founded on the idea of equality, that we are stronger when we are inclusive and consider all members of our community. And we take our responsibility to serve every member of the community very seriously and value the varied perspectives and experiences that make us stronger. Tonight, our celebration demonstrates our guiding principles as we celebrate and honor Immigrant Heritage Month and celebrate with pride in the impact of the mental, physical, and emotional labor within the immigrant community of Frederick. Now, therefore, as the County Executive of Frederick County, Maryland, I hereby proclaim June 2026 as Immigrant Heritage Month in Frederick County and commend this observance to all our residents presented this 15th day of June 2026. Thank you all again for joining us. And Seema and Claudia, I'd love to come up and present this to you and get a photo.
From MC to the moderator now, I would like to present our neighbors' stories, journeys that shape Frederick County. June, as Ms. Fuswater said, is Immigrant Heritage Month, and we are celebrating this by sharing the enriched experience and journeys of our Frederick residents. Today, we are sharing a personal journey of Ben Chequet, the story that will discover his experiences that helped him shape the place he calls home. Sit back, listen, and connect as we celebrate through him the diversity that strengthens Frederick County.
My name is Dr. Ben Chequet. I'm a resident here in Frederick. I've lived in Frederick for about 19 years. Having moved from Columbia, and before that I was at College Park here in Maryland. But I was born in Kenya, and I've lived in Maryland or in the US for the last 38 years. So I'm very much at home here. I've lived here more than half of my lifetime here on earth, basically. I came here as a student, went to Southeastern University and then to Bowie State University here in Maryland, where I studied Management Information Systems and Finance. And after that, I proceeded to Arizona, North Central University for my PhD in Business Administration. But in between, I had to raise a family. My wife also is from Kenya. And also, so we have two sons here who are born here in the US. I work here in Frederick, but I've worked in so many other places, including outside US, for this span of 38 years. My father was an educationist. He was a principal in elementary school. And the first thing he taught me and my siblings was to emphasize on education, because that's the only resource. There's no way you could plant corn there and harvest and sell. So development of the mind was the only thing. So what brought me here was in pursuit of education, the only thing I knew that I should survive. So I came here as a student, and here I am. I started settling here. My wife also joined me later from Kenya, and then we settled here in the US.
Well, good evening and welcome.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for the opportunity to share my story here in
Well,
Frederick.
thank you for volunteering. We are very, very lucky to have you here. And please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, your family, and where you come from.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Ben Chequet. I originally come from Kenya. I was born in Kenya, but now I'm a resident of Frederick, which is 12,000 miles apart. I live here with my family, my wife, and my two sons. although my sons are adults, they have graduated from college, and they live in different cities. Andrew lives in Virginia. He got his master's in economics from University of Maryland. He was alumni of Frederick High. I have Alex, who is also alumni of Frederick High. He's a nuclear engineer in Pittsburgh. He also went to University of Maryland. And my wife also, together with my wife, we got our master's from Bowie State University. She's in project management. She has a PhD in project management, and my PhD in business administration. So we are a family of everyone in the U.S., academics, business, all this, and cultures as well. You asked me about my background.
You originally came from?
Originally came from Kenya. I was born in Kenya, and that's where I went for high school. After high school, I came to U.S. as a student on a F1 visa study, and I went to Southeastern University Business School. And after that, I joined the Bowie State University, a master's in information systems. And after Bowie State, I worked in different places and went to North Central University for PhD in business administration. Now, coming here as a student was a difficult decision because I had to look for opportunities outside where I was born. I come from an environment which is, I think we call it a valley, but more here, it could be similar to maybe Arizona or a desert environment. So in Kenya, you have both highlands and the lowlands. So I come from a lower land where agricultural produce is not that high, so it wasn't high. But I was lucky because my father was an elementary school principal, and he emphasized on education. So for us, we grew up knowing in my family that education was the only resource we had. There was no farming. We had some goats and sheep and cows, but not enough to generate any income for the family or even for education and for sustenance. All that was subsistence. So education was the only commodity for us to pursue. So developing knowledge and pursuing education was the only course that I knew. So when opportunity came through my uncle, who was Mr. Serkon, who was commercial attaché in Washington, D.C., he found a school for me to come here for my bachelor's degree. Then to me, that was a natural course because all that I knew was study and develop my mind and hopefully earn an income from it. So that's how I landed here as a student.
That's beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
And we see that you did full justice to it because I'm hearing about the educational background of the family and I've seen masters and PhDs all the way. So that's great.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Now, two things that I've already found in common with yours and mine. My son is in second year of UMD.
Oh,
so there we go.
Excellent.
And I was born in Zambia, Lusaka. So
wow, that's cool.
we have a connection right there.
Yes, yeah.
I never got to explore the country, but at least I know I'm from there. So I also noticed that what you're wearing today, does that hail?
Yes.
Yes, it's a traditional.
It is a traditional and more of an African, across Africa. For some reason, we like round neck clothing and some flowers on it.
The print has any significance?
Which significance is more of a shining.
I see.
A shine to the wall. Okay. Well, so our clothing is more flowery and welcoming. Mm-hmm. So with that lighting, it is welcoming to the whole wall, so that it is enlightenment to others.
Oh, you look dashing. So
Thank
that's
you.
Great. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And from your conversation that you're telling us right now, so you came as a high school student into college here?
Yeah, into college here, yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. So how was that? How was when you landed here in America? How was that?
Landing here was, I knew it was going to be difficult, but it was exciting to come because it was an opportunity that not everyone, I knew it was not an opportunity that everyone would get. Mm-hmm. So to me, it was a gift from God that I got a chance to be here. Because I know even up to now, a lot of students they would prefer to come here and study, but that chance is not available to most of them. So for me, getting an opportunity to come here, knowing my background, And knowing that I did not have the resources to meet the cost of education in the US was a miracle. But I had the confidence, and I had the confidence, and I had the belief in my mind that it is achievable. So the first thing, when I landed here, of course, I found out that there was a limitation on how to get money to pay for tuition. So we were limited to 20 hours a week by the law of the land as a student. And that helped a lot because I leveraged that to make sure I had enough money to pay for my tuition. And I also leveraged that to make sure that I was able to work, to maximize, able to get money that was not only enough for me to pay throughout my education, but with the assistance of my uncle and others, I was able to later on, when I graduated from my bachelor's, I was able to bring my brother here on an F1 student also.
Very nice.
He went to the University of Maryland. He's Dr. Isaac. He got his PhD from University of Maryland in civil engineering.
Wow.
Now he's a practicing engineer in St. Louis, in Missouri. And then I also got my two other brothers and my sister, who is in Lancaster. In addition to bringing my wife, because my wife finished her first degree in Kenya. So when I went back briefly, got married, and came back in '91, then that's when she went to Bowie State for her master's. And after that, we started working. All that for us, for immigrants. What is common, though, for immigrants is that you have to balance education and work. Because it cannot be one only, cannot focus on one. Because you have to work to generate income to pay for your tuition.
That's right.
Most immigrants who come here have no money. They only briefcase, clothing, and then they come and work. And that is why today, when you hear people say America is made by immigrants, it's very true.
It's true.
Because we have to work double harder. We have to make sure you are earning double in a hard way more than anyone else. And there's no time for laxity. So I knew that by working hard and bringing my siblings and my wife here. And at the same time, we were going to school while raising our families, raising the two boys.
Yes.
In fact, my wife was graduating a master's when she was expecting our last born.
I see.
So for immigrants, it's a constant factor, is that you have to balance between income and achieving knowledge and developing careers. It cannot be only one, unless you are lucky to get scholarships or to get grants or sponsors, or unless you are lucky you come from a family that has resources. And well to pay for you.
True.
Which is a very small percentage of those who come here.
Yes.
For most of us who come here to the US, really we are from average families in terms of income. So we have to work to double
At least,
the time.
at least the first generation is.
Yes.
And I'm sure, like I am first generation, you are first generation.
Yes, I'm
we
actually
tell
the
our
firstborn.
kids all the time how easy it is for them, because now we provide for their education, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And that is true, because I'm the firstborn of 10.
Yes.
10 siblings in the family.
Wow.
So I had to do everything I could to help my siblings, at the same time help my own family. So that is about the education part of it. And when I graduated from Bowie State University, I was lucky and gracious enough to be employed by Bell Atlantic and Verizon Communications, which Bell Atlantic became Verizon.
Verizon, yes.
So I worked there as a software engineer. And after that, I worked with the federal government, GSA, General Service Administration.
Right.
And during all that time, that's when I got my green card, which is a dream for most immigrants. And after that, I got my citizenship. And when I got my citizenship, then I worked with the government and worked with the private sector as a project financial manager. And I ended up moving from software engineering to financial management, because my bachelor's is in accounting. Yeah, so I ended up working on both areas.
So we see that all your hard work has really come a long way. So congratulations.
Those are my parents.
Let's move to this picture here.
Yes.
So we see, these are your parents?
Yes, those are my parents. And my dad is in his past, and my mom is in Nairobi.
And they're still back home?
My mom is back home.
In Kenya?
Yes.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about between Kenya and, well, this is your childhood,
That
I
is
see, right?
That's my village. That's my childhood. And the one I'm holding was
Is that your
was
siblings?
the youngest then. All those are my siblings.
Okay.
The one I'm holding was the youngest then. His name is Amos. He's now in Canada. He's in Alberta.
Okay.
Yeah, he has settled there with his family. He's doing business in Alberta, Calgary.
I see.
And these are the youngest on this side is here also in the U.S. That's Naphtali. And the one next to me is engineer Isaac. The one I told you has a PhD from University of Maryland in civil engineering, and the others also are in Kenya. Yeah.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit about what do you miss being in Kenya?
Let me mention one thing. At the background, you can see this, most of the African semi-arid or arid areas is reflected at the background where we are scattered trees and plantations are very scattered. We don't have a lot of plantation at the back, and you can see the ground is very soily and sandy. That is common in most of the dry areas.
Not much greenery there.
Yes, and in most cases, we were lucky we had shoes because our father was a teacher, so otherwise most of the village kids had no shoes. Yeah, and it's,
No worries.
Yeah.
So tell us, like I said, I was going to ask you that, what is the one thing that you feel that you miss about being in Kenya, or your memories from there, and what is the one thing that you love about being here that you would not trade with anything else?
Right. One thing I miss, of course, is my other members of my family.
Especially your mom.
Yes, so my mom, my cousins, those who are brothers to my dad and sisters, and so the entire family.
So your uncles
because
and
you have
aunts.
to understand, most of the immigrants, we operate from a nuclear family perspective. We're interconnected emotionally, spiritually, and in most cases, we feel we are obligated to one another, which is different from the Western societies where, because there's plenty of resources and access to independent economically, there's no need to be so coercive. And one of the reasons why in developing countries people are so close is because they can share the resources that they have.
Yes.
But here, one of the reasons why people don't have to be close to one another is because they are economically independent in most cases. Everybody can make that. So I miss that family connection. But the best thing that has happened to me coming here is access to opportunities.
Education and
Education
opportunities.
and business opportunities, and also opportunities for our children, and opportunities for other immigrants too. Because one thing that has happened is that there's no limit to growth here. Once you are in the U.S. and you follow the laws of the land, and you make sure you abide by what is required in documentation, you comply with requirements if you have to start a business, then there's no limit to growth and expansion. So that thing has happened to me too, because I'm grateful I got that opportunities, because after working with several corporations, including Bechtel, which was here in Frederick, I worked for Bechtel as a project finance manager in California, and also in Oman, in Middle East. We were building Muscat International Airport, and I was there for 3 years. And then when I came back, I accessed the opportunity to be an independent business person. And that is the blessing of the American community, American society. Now I live in Frederick as a businessman. I operate businesses, so I don't have to work for another. I create jobs for others, both Americans and immigrants and everybody. And that is the plus that we have as immigrants. We work double harder, and we create opportunities not only for immigrants, but also for the American society, because they receive theirs here. They work for me, everybody works for me.
That's
Work
wonderful.
for me.
That's
Thank
so
you.
wonderful.
Yeah.
This is another picture that we are seeing here, and this is
Yeah, that's
again
when I
you
was
back in Oman.
That's when I was in Oman. Yeah,
And what
so
are we doing here?
here, the gentleman standing there was getting ready to serve tea for us.
I see.
And tea there is served in a ceremonious manner. You're given a small cup, and they have to serve in a way that is, I think there's another picture for that, but it was preparing us
I'm
for
not
tea.
sure, but I think this brings us back to the heritage here.
And this is when I joined Frederick Heritage.
Yes.
And that is my profile. and I've been a member of Frederick Heritage, contributing in so many ways. And I'm grateful because I'm able to have a print in Frederick as my home, in addition to other places. Yes.
I'm also curious, as second-generation immigrants, how is for your kids? Do they like to go back and visit their grandmother, or how do they connect with the heritage and balance the culture?
Yes. Not as much as I would, not as much as I love it myself, but since they were born here, this is more of their home than Kenya. But like most immigrants, we try to get our children to know where we came from. It only makes sense. In fact, I really don't believe that having come here as an immigrant, you cut off your heritage and you don't let your children know where you come from. So my kids get to visit Kenya. They know where their grandparents are. They know their cousins, and they visit.
That's good.
Yeah, and they like it when they visit. But they come home knowing that they're going to create their economic base here.
Yes.
But still, we have instilled in them the know-how that they still have to pay back to their communities in Kenya as well, here. Keep something back. I have a not-for-profit organization that we use with members of Kenyan communities here to give back to where we come from. Out of $10 you make, if you can get 50 cents and give it to the community there to educate kids, make community get water, make them get sanitation access, make them small business empowerment. That is how immigrants can empower themselves here, but also empower their communities where they came from. Because people still look upon you. They know Ben is in the US.
Yes.
And they know, Ben, what are you doing for us? You have these opportunities. So we have that obligation, whether as immigrants, whether you like or not, you have to create that. You have to fill that cup in one way or another.
Right. Yeah. Any one culture, any one festivity that you want to talk, which is common, that you celebrate in Kenya, as well as you brought it and introduced it to your kids?
Yes, that is very good. Well, another thing before I go to that, I want to mention that one of the things that immigrants could miss, but they don't miss, is food.
Oh, yes.
Our cultural food.
Yes.
That one, we have access here in the US as much as we could have access in my village. We have access to corn, if we have to make okale from corn.
So do you do like a lot of traditional cooking
yes, we do
in the house?
Yeah, in my house, my wife cooks Kenyan food.
Kenyan food. All right.
All the
so
time.
they're introduced. So the kids are introduced to it.
So we don't miss that. So, but it is something which immigrants could miss. But thank God for America, because these resources are there.
Yeah.
You can find them in the shops. Now, in the cultural part, the one you asked me about my kids, that some of the things to practice is, for example, marriage. Marriage in US and in our cultures there is different from it is done in the US or in the Western world. So one thing we have instilled our children as immigrants from Kenya is to go through marriage process that we have in Kenya.
I see.
Yeah, before you get married, that's it. Like my sons now, when they meet a girl that they would like to marry, the first thing that in our culture we do is to introduce her to us. And then we as parents, we get to know the parents of the girl.
And the girl.
And then we do 3 steps. We visit the family to get to have a meal with them. Having a meal, by the way, for us immigrants, with anybody you are going to have a contract or a covenant with is very important. In fact, we believe you're going to sign a contract with somebody without having a meal, having some tea. I have to have tea with you.
Yes.
Or something.
That's like a
so we do that. And
initial bonding.
Yes, and then after that we do a formal engagement in a cultural way.
Right.
Where formally, where the community here from Kenya, we get into cultural singing, cultural dressing, we celebrate the two. And then after that now, the last step is they do the Western wedding, the Christian wedding in that case.
So incorporate both the cultures.
All of it,
yeah,
yes.
That's
we have
wonderful.
the cultural and we have, for us, we are Christians, we go to the, so we have the tradition and we have the Christian.
So Isala there is showing me the time, so we have to keep that in, in check. My final question, which is very important,
Yes.
let's keep it short. what is the one advice that you would give to any immigrant that's coming in to the country and who's starting the journey as you started? What is the one advice you would give to them?
Yeah, my advice to any immigrant is to first seek advice on before you make anything, before you make any decision. If it is education, try to understand which college can help you to access grants, to help you get a sponsorship, and which college can guide you in the career that you want. Another thing that I would encourage our immigrants to understand, and they have to know, is following the law of the land. You have to abide by the rule of the land. Stay in status. If you are coming here as a student and you are required to take a certain number of hours in school, please do that and stick to it. There's no reason to run into trouble with immigration or anything. It is very possible to abide by that law and be okay. Secondly, when you graduate, you don't have to seek ways of staying here. Okay? I think that may surprise most people. But it is important to take advantage of the opportunities in this country. So immigrants, despite the difficulties that we have out there, it is important to seek ways of lengthening your stay so that you seek for opportunities economically and legally stay here and develop yourself and develop the community. Being here is not only for me as myself, it's also for the American society, it's for American economy. I pay taxes like anyone else for economy. And also you build because as you pay taxes, you also build your social security and Medicare for your retirement.
Yes.
So it is important for us immigrants to make sure that we are abiding by the law and also we take advantage of the economic opportunities that are out there.
I think that's excellent advice. Should we agree? Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Ben. It's been a pleasure. We've learned quite a few things about.
That's my wife.
That's your PhD graduation picture. Yes. I'll quickly scroll. I think I have a few pictures.
Yeah,
that's the last one.
Yeah, this is the last one.
Yeah,
this is both your sons?
Yes, that's both of my sons. This is Alex and Andrew. Yes.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yes. This was a lot of good information. Thank you
you
so much for sharing your journey, sharing your stories with us. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ben. It's a pleasure.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our second night of our celebration for Immigrant Heritage Month as we hear stories from our immigrant neighbors and their journey and the beautiful cultures. And so we're going to start off by handing the mic over to Mary, who is from the Maryland Room, and she'll let us know a little bit about what the Maryland Room is. So, Mary?
All right, thank you ever so much. Again, my name is Mary Mannix, and I'm the Maryland Room Manager here at the Seaber Arts Public Library of Frederick County Public Libraries. Welcome you all here, just to make sure that you're all feel very welcome here, and also to keep in mind that the stories of all people who've lived in Frederick County, whether they were in Frederick County in 1746 or whether or not their families arrived in 2026, are part of the history of Frederick County. We want to make sure those stories are collected in some manner. We do whatever we can in order to make that happen. We also help people do their genealogy. So while, again, modern times, you know where you came from, but we also can assist people, whether they've come recently, whether they came 100 years ago or 200 years ago. While we may not have resources that can particularly help you do your genealogy, we can help guide you on that journey and also provide you electronic resources and send you to other places, other institutions and books that may assist you. But more importantly, just to make sure everyone knows, the stories of everyone who's ever lived in Frederick County is part of the story of Frederick County and very important to Frederick County Public Libraries and particularly to the Maryland Room, because it's our job to make sure that everyone is remembered, whether they're remembered 5 years from now, 50 years from now, or 200 years from now. So thank you so much, and so happy to have you all here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mary. And so you've heard it here. Please check out the Maryland Room here at Seaber Arts and learn more about the stories that make Frederick so beautiful. So our first speaker today is Silvinia. And so we're going to play a short video just to give you a little bit of who she is, and then we'll hear more from her.
My name is Silvina Chegoshen. I'm coming from the land of tango, churrasco, Che Guevara, Messi, and Pope Francis. I am from Argentina. I came here 25 years ago because of love, brought me here to this country. I feel like I am a privileged immigrant who came with all papers in order in a legal way. I am also a mom and social worker. I am a psychotherapist working in Frederick County for Frederick High School. And I am a passionate Latina who is always been working with Latino population since forever. Even back in my country with immigrants from Latin America in Argentina. So I've been here in Frederick for almost 10 years. But first, when I came to US, I moved to Connecticut. It was a different type of experience, Connecticut, and then I moved here to Maryland. I found that people here are more social and open. So for me, it was a very interesting experience when, after living 15 years in Connecticut, where everybody is very private and they don't talk to you too much. But people here are more open and, engaging in conversation at the supermarket or wherever. And I really like that.
Hi, Silvina.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Thank you for sharing your story. I want to say that first and foremost. So Argentina,
Yes.
the place of tango
Tango, churrasco,
and
Che Guevara.
Che Guevara and Messi.
And a lot of other, very
Yeah.
interesting, Eva Perón,
Yeah.
right? With a lot of history. I grew up in Argentina until I moved here as an adult. I experienced, different type of situations out there, from military government and raising as a little kid with a lot of fear that if you speak up your mind, somebody can kill you, right?
Mm.
So I grew up in a way that I have to be careful when I'm talking or giving my personal political views because it wasn't safe.
Mm.
And I internalized that a lot.
Yeah.
So that's the way that, we have to grow up. It was
Yeah.
kind of natural for me.
Mm-hmm.
At the point that I was little and, we have like government class, right? Under military government. And you have to learn how to vote a president and the senators and representatives. And I was not passing the class because I didn't get it. And my father was kind of, well, a senator. I said, no, I'm sorry, but what is a senator? What is that word? What does that mean, right? Because I've never been raised in a democratic government.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, but Silvina, we vote for president. No, Dad, you're wrong. To be a president, you need to be a military person. You have to be a military.
Mm-hmm.
That was my mind when I was 12 years old.
Oh, wow.
Right? When I have that government class.
Yeah.
So I didn't pass the class. I have to retake it. And then I moved here, right, after many, many years. Well, we recovered democracy in 1982, right? And I started learning, what it means to be free and be open to talk, even though that was the situation, but it wasn't in reality, right? Yeah. Because coming out of the regime, you have to still be careful. They have people from the government, from the military, working and infiltrating universities.
Mm. Wow.
I don't know if I told you that, but I was a social worker student. And social workers, we are considered lefty most of the time, right? Because we fight for human rights. We fight for, social justice, economic justice.
Advocacy
for the people, for the citizens. And I remember one day I was a very fighty, person. I really believe I want to change society. And I decided to become a social worker because it was the way that I can, be professionally making a change in society. I didn't like the society that I live in. I didn't like the society that I live now, and I really have that, need to change and improve it and make it a better place. So I was very involved with the student association. In Argentina, we have a different type of universities where the students are part of the government of the university. And I was part of the government of the university. And I remember one day walking into class and see my name, write it down in the board, in the whiteboard, with another 5, 6 names of my other students that we were friends. Okay. And it was like a blacklist, right? So it was saying, Selena Chugoshin, we're watching you, or, you're under a blacklist, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I imagine that was scary.
Threatening me that they are going to kill me.
Wow.
Right? So it was under a democratic government, but we were not safe. So coming out of, of these years of regime wasn't easy either.
How did that shape what you do now?
Well, I always been working for justice everywhere. I don't care where I go. I don't care where I live. I know that that's my purpose in life. And so when I came here, I moved 24 years ago, and as I told it during the video, I came, with papers. I feel very privileged. I got my green card very, very fast because I was lucky to be in the middle of a process of application that my husband had from work. And I got my first job working with homeless population in New Haven, Connecticut. And I love it. I learned a lot. That people are my masters for me. They taught me so much. And I can start looking at the all injustice that was happening here in U.S. So, I start working since then on, and here I am now.
Yeah.
It took me from different jobs and different places, but I always have the opportunity, to be working as a social worker in U.S., which is also for me another privilege. And this career took me to get my master's degree here in U.S., and because I did have all my clinical stuff, I want to learn more about it, policy. So I have my major in policy practice.
Oh, okay.
I did that during graduate, my grad school, and learn more about the system, how it works, and how you can change.
Continue your work with social justice.
Exactly,
Wow.
and trying to make it, what I believe that is not fair for people, and how we can change it.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I really feel very honored and privileged to be working still, what I really love here in U.S.
Yeah, it sounds like you are able to connect with the humanity for so many people that are at the hands of injustice.
Yes. Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Well, take us back a little bit. You said Argentina is the land of churrasco. What is churrasco for those that haven't heard what that is?
Good big steak. We love meat. We eat a lot of meat. We can eat meat like 5 times, a week. But we are more than that, right? It's a big country. It's as longest as U.S. wide, right?
Oh.
It's very, Yeah. So Argentina is big. We have less population. It's only 40 million. I know that now with the World Cup feels like there's Argentinians everywhere, right? But we are only 45, I believe, millions.
Yeah.
But we can, be noticed.
Yeah, yeah.
And the what was the question? I lost it.
Churrasco.
The
And you said
churrasco.
the meats,
The
but there's so
churrasco.
much more to Argentina.
Yeah, and the asado, the barbecue, it's part of our culture.
Yeah.
There's we don't just eat. We have kind of rituals around the food. We get together, friends and family. We eat every night together with our family and share stories. And it's part of, it's a symbol of who we are, right?
Yeah.
So it's always an extra plate for whoever arrives at the last minute. We don't care. It's a culture of open doors houses, right? Everybody's welcome. We don't eat alone. We don't like that. It's something that is very different what I noticed here in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
And I have a funny story about it. My son, he was like 12, 13 years old when they started, playing games with the friends, and we eat late. We don't eat at 5 or 6. We eat like 8 o'clock at home. So we have time coming back from work. We have time to prepare and do the meal. So we cook every meal. And he was very upset with me because I would call him to come for dinner, and he need to stop playing with his friends. That was the time that they were not eating. They were not having dinner at the time. And he has to come over, and he wanted to bring the plate into his bedroom to eat there when he was playing. I said, no way, Jose, you are out of... And he was very upset with me. And he will say, Mom, why we cannot be like normal people? That we have delivery and I can eat in my bedroom. I said, no, I'm sorry to inform you. That is not normal.
Yeah.
This is not okay. It's not okay to have dinner alone when you're 12 years old. I'm sorry, but that's not okay for me. And we don't do that. We get together and you come over here and we talk about how was your day.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of value in the family dinner.
And the connection. It's about the connection. You are not alone. And nobody has to feel alone.
Yeah.
We are humans, and we connect, and we struggle, and we have conflicts, and that's okay. We deal with it.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
So that's very much the churrasco thing that I was trying to explain here with one word.
I love it. Well, thank you for the explanation. So we're running out of time. What would be one thing that you would like to tell the public about the immigrant story here in America? What would you like someone that's listening to your story and the other stories that we will be sharing to know about what a journey might be like here as an immigrant?
When as an immigrant, you experience a lot of grief all the time. You are grieving your land, you are grieving your culture, your friends, your families. Anytime that you go back and come back, you are not the same, right? Going back is you are different. So you start having this sense of splitting some type of identity. I'm here, but I'm here too. Sometimes it's beautiful and you can integrate both cultures. Sometimes it's a struggle, right? Depends. But the grieving is always there. So when you see an immigrant, for people that they never had that experience, it's important to keep in mind that that person is probably grieving, talking with friends, their own language, the native language, and grieving about the land or grieving about the smells of the city, right, when they grow up. Whatever it is, it's, and everybody has a different type of experience. That is my personal experience, of course. And I don't want to generalize this, but the grieving is, is something that I believe that we have in common.
Yeah, trying to balance the two worlds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your story.
You're very
It's very
welcome.
appreciated.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a quick break and hear from the rest of our speakers tonight. So stay tuned.
Hi, and welcome back. I am so excited to be here, and we are going to be talking to Ryan today. We're going to go ahead and share her video, and then we'll find out more.
My name is Ryan El-Maghribi. I'm a student at Frederick Community College, hopefully aiming for the nursing program. I'm from Syria. I immigrated to the United States 2.5 years ago. And I'm also all about community involvement and making sure that immigrants and refugees' voices are heard. After spending so many years trying to survive the war in Syria and the displacement, we immigrated to Lebanon at first. We lived in Lebanon for about 10 years. I would say 8 of them were in a refugee camp. This experience shaped who I am today, and then we got the chance to actually come to the United States for better opportunity and better life. And we said yes for the chance, of course. And then we're finally here trying to build a future for our family. Even though it does get hard for us to start from zero, like all the time, but I believe this is one of the best starts that happened in my family, and we're all really excited about the future and what's coming ahead.
Thank you for that. So tell us about, so you said that you left 10 years ago, was that?
Yes, so we left Syria actually in 2013. We evacuated to Lebanon, seeking for safety, and then we moved to Lebanon, and then we were there for about 10 years. As I mentioned, it was 8 of them were in a refugee camp. I spent most of my childhood and teenage year actually in a refugee camp in Lebanon.
It must be very difficult. It must really have done an awful lot to shape your worldview.
It's definitely an experience, and I like talking about how refugees are navigating life, like in Lebanon or around the world. It was definitely hard, navigating how to get food, to get clean water, to get access for healthcare. It was definitely something that was hard. Like most of the days, we wondered if we're gonna have a meal or not. And most of the days, we had to have like a proper paper for us to get access for food or even water, which was a little hard sometimes. Yeah.
Well, getting your paperwork in order when you're living under extreme situations.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge definitely everywhere for immigrants and refugees. So yeah, it was definitely an experience that shaped who I am today as a person and as someone who, and that kind of gave me a purpose of sharing my story, because and educating people about refugees and immigrants nowadays.
And why do you think it's important to share this story?
I actually learned that when I came to the United States, how storytelling is very powerful. Sharing your story and your experience as a refugee and immigrants will, I believe, is very important for the world to know and to hear us, because like even if sharing my story will help one person understand more about refugees and immigrants, I believe it's worth it.
And what do you think understanding promotes?
You mean, can you?
When you say you want people to understand your experience.
I believe when people hear the word refugee or immigrants, most of the times they see someone as less capable, less deserving, or less less educated. Mm-hmm. So I want people to see that we're more than a label. We're human beings with dreams, with hope, with a voice, and yeah, I just want them to know that about us.
It's fantastic. So you're going to FCC and you're dreaming about the nursing program. What is drawing you to the nursing program?
First of all, I want to say I love FCC. It's the first community that I got introduced to. And about nursing, I'm someone who's interested in dermatology, and I'm going for nursing for dermatology, for probably getting into dermatology. But also one of my goals is volunteering aboard since when I get my license as a nurse, because I believe healthcare is kind of not taking as serious as it should be from like immigrants and refugees communities in Lebanon from an experience.
So you're looking to educate?
Yes.
Fantastic. So tell us about some of your first thoughts when you came to Frederick County. Was Frederick County the first place in the United States that you lived?
Yes. I was both scared and excited. Everything felt unfamiliar. Even crossing down the street felt overwhelming. But I remember, like, I remember loving Frederick County. I found a lot of people who are welcoming and willing to actually help and hear about my story, which was fascinating because most of my life I felt like I wasn't being heard, which feeling heard is a really important feeling, and it makes a difference.
It does make a difference. How do you feel feeling heard now has changed you?
I would say it made me completely a different person. It made me more passionate and gave me a purpose of sharing my story more and also hearing from others, because I do feel like by hearing other stories, you learn more about the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you said that you when you went to Lebanon, can you tell us about some of your memories of Syria? What are some of the things that you remember or that you hold on to from Syria?
I left Syria when I was 7 years old, but I do have a lot of memories. Our house, when we used to go to my grandma's house on Eid, celebrating Eid, wearing new outfits for Eid. It was definitely something that I miss. And then the war started. Most of my memories, unfortunately, are not really like the best experience a child should have. So most of them were like running barefoot, trying to find a shelter just to hide from what was going on in Syria. So it was definitely not the best experience, but I do miss my country a lot.
I'm sure. So who did you come to Frederick with?
I came with my family. We're a family of 7. We're quite a big family. It's with my family, and then we came directly to to the Frederick community, and then we love it since then.
Fantastic. Good. So I know we have a lot of celebrations here for Eid. Were you surprised to find that?
Yes, actually, when I came to Frederick, I didn't think that we're gonna find a Muslim community. And when we first got introduced to the Muslim community, we were so happy to find people celebrate same celebration as us, and like especially Eid and Ramadan are very special for us as Muslim. So I was so happy to find that there are people who celebrate the same celebrations. It made me feel welcomed even more.
And did it make you feel like you belonged here?
Yes, definitely. I feel like since day one, Frederick community made me feel like I belong here, especially from people who are willing to hear from you and help you and try to even interact with you. Just saying hi down the street, it definitely makes a difference.
Fantastic. Are there any customs or things that when you came here to Frederick, you were surprised about that we do here?
Not a celebration, but I do remember our first day here in the United States. We arrived to the Washington, D.C. It was the airport at Washington, D.C. And then the nonprofit organization took us to the hotel. And then we were going to Walmart to get some stuff, and I do remember how fascinated Walmart looked for me. It looked so big. It had a lot of stuff. So I was so excited about, oh my God, like they have everything here. And that definitely something that I was fascinated about. And also the agent that was helping us, he told, I believe, the cashier, which she was a manager, that they're new here in the country, and we're helping out for them to settle. And then she said, "Oh, we can offer a job for me." And it was maybe first 2 hours of me being in the United States. I'm like, oh my God, is it that easy to find a job? I mean, from experience now, it's not,
Right.
but like, but that was so funny. I was telling my family, like, oh my God, I can get a job like tomorrow.
That sounds like a good welcome.
Yes, exactly. Like, I'm telling you, since day one, like, we felt like people actually care. So, yeah.
So are there any foods here that you have found especially interesting?
Yes, I was really excited about trying new food. Something about me, I'm a foodie. Like, I love food. And something about Syrians, they like to, our love language is actually providing food and telling people about our like food and our culture. So since day one, my mom is actually a chef. So we've been inviting people over, and they've been loving the food that we make. And it's kind of our love language.
Tell me about some of the specialties.
Special like food? Well, I feel like my friends are tired of me saying my favorite dish, but my favorite Syrian dish is actually shawarma. It's the chicken wrap, but even better. So if you guys haven't tried shawarma before, you're more than welcome to come out my house. I'm not gonna cook it because I don't know how, unfortunately. I have to learn, but my mom definitely can.
Your poor mom. There's gonna be like a line out the door.
But she loves it. She's a chef, and she's amazing.
Fantastic. Is there any American food? Have you tried, Maryland is famous for crabs.
Yes, I actually haven't tried it. I've been looking. I've been looking to try, because we're not really familiar with seafood, but I would love to try it. Definitely. I've heard a lot of good stuff about it. So if you guys have any recommendations, please let me know.
That's fantastic. Good. There are a lot of restaurants here, crab legs and of course Old Bay on the crabs. Have you picked up any new hobbies or things that you're interested in since you've been here?
I don't know if I can call it a hobby, but it's definitely something I enjoy doing, is storytelling and advocating for refugees and immigrants. I feel like since I came to the United States, and sharing my story gave me a purpose of trying to share it with other communities and hearing from other communities. So I believe it's something empowering, and looking forward growing it more.
And how are you finding those avenues to speak up?
I'm finding it really, you feel more welcomed when you feel heard. So it's something definitely important. And after sharing my story, a lot of people are really interested and wanted to learn more and want to hear more. So I feel like I take it more of a healing journey as well. Talking about the story and my experience, I feel like it's healing me. It's helping me first, and then helping others.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So we're going to be wrapping up soon. So, but in your own words, if you were speaking to a new immigrant coming to Frederick County, do you have words of advice, or do you want to tell them a little bit about what to expect?
Yes. I want to tell them one thing is don't compare your life to others. That's something that I fell into, unfortunately. But I just want to tell them that you are definitely not behind. You're where you need to be. Don't feel pressure to, you will need to work hard, but just don't feel the pressure of and overwhelming yourself with work. Definitely. So take one step at a time. And I really, really want to say it again. Don't compare your life to others. You've been through a lot, and everyone is going through a different journey. So just live your life, live your journey. It's going to get you somewhere.
All right. Thank you very much. This was very nice to speak to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome back as we listen to the story from our last speaker, TJ. And we're going to hear a little bit about his background and Kazakhstan. Did I say that right?
Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyzstan.
Better than
Thank
many
you.
people.
And we're going to hear more about it.
My name is TJ Sidikov, and I'm from Kyrgyzstan, which is a small country in Central Asia. Kyrgyzstan is a country of about 6 million people. We have an ancient history of our living there. It's often called Switzerland of Central Asia because 90% of the country is very mountainous with high peaks of 24,000 feet above sea level. Very picturesque, beautiful, culturally full, rich country. I came as a kid to study in a middle school in 2001. My parents at the time were involved in politics, and there was some concern for the safety of the family. And so my mother had decided to enroll me in a private school in Central Florida, get me away from the area. And so since then I've been in the United States and slowly moved up north. I came to Frederick about 5 years ago. Before that I lived around DC for about 15 years in Northern Virginia, in Montgomery County, and once I had children, my wife and I had decided to move to Frederick.
Hi, TJ.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I
Yes.
think this is a very good way to celebrate the immigrant heritage.
Well, and thank you for sharing your story. So I do have to admit, and I think you already picked that up, that Kyrgyzstan, right?
Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyzstan.
There you go.
I haven't heard much about it, so tell us. Tell us about your
Sure.
heritage.
Yeah, and many people haven't. Kyrgyzstan is a small country in Central Asia. Many people probably associate it with Soviet Union because it only gained its independence in '89 when the Soviet Union had broken up. So it's one of the 16 republics, I believe, that came of the large Soviet Union. We speak Russian. We look Asian. We're Muslims. Kyrgyzstan was actually, and Central Asia was actually a melting pot of back 1,000 years ago during the Silk Road. It was in the middle of Silk Road, which connected China and ancient Roman Empire. And so it was on the trade route. And when you think of a melting pot and sort of having this highway of trade and tradesmen traveling and different cultures interacting, that was really right in the middle of that highway.
Yeah. Melting pot for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Quite diverse.
Yeah.
So tell me about the foods. What are the foods then like there?
Sure, yeah. And just like the people and our history, food is also very culturally diverse. So we have our influence from Middle East with grilled meats and lots of spices, right? And then we have the Eastern influence with the noodles and the rice dishes and stir fries and things like that. But Kyrgyz people, we were nomads historically. And so vegetation, sort of farming, wasn't part of our life. We had livestock, lots of meat. And really, if you boil it down to traditional Kyrgyz meal, it's really just noodles and horse meat, which is a hot commodity over there. And a delicacy, right? If you come to a wedding and they didn't give you horse meat, you get offended. That's yes.
Okay.
Yes, but the influence really brought it all together. So many different dishes, and from spicy to sweet, and also Russian influence had its as well. So cabbage, potatoes are also very frequent on our dinner tables.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's different for sure. That's beautiful. What is something that you would say you miss?
Sure, yeah. It's actually related to the cultural aspect of it. I mean, the food aspect of it. So we make these, one of the questions was, I think, what kind of tradition we still continue to do here, right? And one of the dishes is called manti. It's dumplings, okay, steamed dumplings. And the beauty of it is that
you make them all together, the kids and the parents and the friends that come to the house. You sit around a table, you put them together, then you steam them, and then you eat them all together, right? One of the fun things that you do, you hide something that's not supposed to be in it in one of the dumplings, and then if you get it, then you get to make a wish, and you're the lucky one around the table. So I'm teaching the kids that. Actually, my mom is teaching my kids that. We're passing this on from generation to generation.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think what I'm hearing from your story and from some of our other speakers is the highlight of family, the unity of family and the importance of that. What can you speak about that for you and your experience?
Yes, you know, I'm often sad because I'm here and my siblings are there, and it's really my mom and I have family here as well that I've made for myself with my children. But yeah, holiday tables is often not as full as it would be back home, right? And traditions are not shared as widely as well. And so family, I think, is something that is missed a lot by us immigrants here. And for it's very important. I encourage everybody to stay connected to your families.
Yeah, that's very important. I think that's how we stay connected to our heritage and our cultures too.
Yes,
through family.
very much so.
Yeah. So what is adjustment? You said you were here since middle school, correct? So what was adjustment like to American schools when you came?
Yeah, you know, I don't think there was much adjustment. I was, one thing I remember, I was very much welcomed. And I don't know if it was just Florida, because, you know, it's a southern state. People are very hospitable. I felt right at home when I came to middle school. I guess my school wasn't big enough for me to get lost, so I was like this interesting person that everybody wanted to get to know and invite to their house. Yeah, adjustment really kicked in maybe later on as I kind of matured and began to realize, right, the differences and things like that. You know, learning English, making friends was very important, and that seemed to have been easy for me.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad that you felt welcome too.
Yeah.
So tell us, what would be something surprising about American culture as you adapted to it in adulthood?
You know, so a little bit of my background, like, so, you know, I mentioned that my parents were politically active, specifically my mom, really, and to a point where it became unsafe for me to stay in the country, and she had chosen to move me here, right? So she, after breaking up with Soviet Union, she started an independent newspaper, the first woman editor-in-chief of an independent newspaper. And, you know, she started investigative journalism, wrote into corruption and other things, and that led to jail sentences, that led to seizure of you know, property, that led to murder of my father, that led to, you know, all kinds of violence, really, that happened to my family, which is the point where I had to move from the country to safeguard myself from it, right? And so one thing I noticed about the United States, and I appreciate a lot of here, is that people are very opinionated, and the freedom of speech and press is very much, at times, too much, you know, free. But that translates to people's nature and personality. Everybody has an opinion about a sports team, about the weather, about the traffic, about the business and their interests, the movies, right? It's beautiful. It's very beautiful, and something that I think is underestimated right here, as in people are not taking full advantage of it, I think, or as in seeing it as a very big benefit to the society and themselves as they develop into their, you know, themselves.
Well, it really sounds like you have something to compare it to in your own lived experiences with your mom and her background.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, yeah. How would you say you celebrate that freedom of speech that you now come to welcome?
To America, yeah. Probably not as much as my mom celebrates it, but I do work for a community-based organization, and for my work, although I'm kind of in the back end administrative person, I do still contribute to voicing the immigrant stories, the immigrant struggles, the injustices, but also its cultures and traditions and trying to find this cross-cultural education between the locals and the immigrants and just making a place very welcome. So, I have the privilege of being able to do so here.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Could you tell us a little bit more about how your work with Asian American Center, is that where you work, and how that work has led to celebrating the immigrant stories that you also hear from other immigrant neighbors?
Yeah, sure. I work for the Asian American Center of Frederick, and we have a lot of cultural festivities that we have here downtown. The organization is very well known for it. One of the things that I enjoy about that organization is that we keep in touch with the immigrant community, and we find ways to, as soon as one group gets a critical mass of individuals here in Frederick County, we can begin a new celebration or a new event for them. We try to organize one. And so, Ryan, we were talking about that here and having an event in October to celebrate the refugee experience as well. And I think that's a very great idea. And again, I have the privilege of being able to be part of it.
So you mentioned having 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
What is something that you would like for them to pass down about your heritage and your culture?
Yeah, I thought about this for a while before I came here, and I think that I want them to keep spontaneity. I feel like what's get lost in the United States is United States is a very rational country. Everything is planned out. Everything is according to schedule. There are boundaries for people, for your houses, for your work, right? And I really want them to be more fluid in the community, to be able to have spontaneous moments, spontaneous friendships, interactions, to get to know many different people and keep their minds open, basically. It's not necessarily my culture, right? But it is something that I'm trying for them to take on and not become closed in.
I think it takes me back to even how you're talking about Kyrgyzstan in the melting pot idea. So it sounds like you want them to also embrace the melting pot of diversity in their lives.
Yeah, and just be ready for change, really. I think people stay away from being dynamic and fluid in their life is because they're trying to safeguard themselves from change. People are afraid of change. And Kyrgyzstan is one of the countries that has probably gone through a lot of change, but in my lifetime has gone through 5 revolutions. I mean, we had overthrown government 5 times, right? In the last 20, I'm 37, but in the last 25 years or so. And so people have gotten used to it, and therefore their way of life is also almost expecting that there will be change and not planning too far ahead, right? And not sticking to that. So, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Which makes sense why that you value adaptation.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say to anyone wanting to know more about the immigrant story and the beauty that sometimes that can, the immigrant story holds? What would you say to someone?
Make friends, ask questions. That's one thing I miss is, or I've noticed lately, is that people have conversations and they have a lot to say, but they have very little questions, right? To dive deeper into the context of that person or their family or their background or whatever their interests are, right? I think keeping your mind open and actually taking the effort of asking questions and being open to hearing things that you may not agree with is one way to learn about your neighbors, whether they're immigrant or not. Yeah.
Leaning into each other's curiosity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay curious.
Yeah, stay curious. I like that. All right. Well, any final words as we wrap up?
Yeah, I encourage you to visit Kyrgyzstan, okay? So if you never have even thought about it in your whole life, to travel to Central Asia, right now is probably the time to go. It's very nice. We have a very large, beautiful lake about, I don't know, 9,000 feet above sea level, okay? And you can lay on the beach, look up, and see ice peaks. That's how, and you can get a tan while looking at ice peaks on top of the mountains. And then you can fly to the top of the mountain, you can heli ski down the slopes, okay?
Wow.
How amazing is that,
Yeah.
right? And it's a civilized country. It's a place that welcomes tourists. Level 1 on State Department security lists, okay? Meaning that it's safer than Turkey and Mexico, where everybody goes to, right? To spend your time, and very affordable to get into extreme sports and mountain hiking and things like that. So horseback riding, whatever it is, right? So I encourage you to explore further. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for the invitation. I'll stick to the beach.
Okay.
I don't know about extreme sports, but I like the beach idea.
There you go. Good, good.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your story. It's a beautiful story. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that is a wrap on our last night as we continue to celebrate Hispanic. As we continue to celebrate Immigrant Heritage Month. And thank you for tuning in to hear the stories from our immigrant neighbors and the beautiful diversity that we have here in Frederick, because really diversity is what makes us great. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time.